Sure is.
We're gonna do something with you, Jay.
You know, I mean,
The last night though,
yeah,
your explanation
yeah,
of the Psalms.
Yeah.
Before you hit the recording.
Yeah.
Was worth the whole session.
well, sorry about that. Just to reiterate for those that will be coming on, be perfect. Basically means that the only help God will give us is to help. This is what Lewis says. The only help God will give you is help to become perfect. Lewis says you may want less, but I will give you nothing less. And he uses that illustration of going to, and it's a two thing. His mother, he knew his mother would take him to the dentist, but he didn't want that. He just wanted the aspirin to make the pain go away. And then the second question, which we just talked about, when Christ tells us to count the cost, what in fact is he warning us of? And once he starts, he won't stop. He'll never rest. He'll never give up working on us. So be warned, basically, is that Christ will keep doing his thing. So we should count the cost. Do we really want that or not? And Hoyt was explaining a little bit about those that are in dire straits. In response to something Jan said, there's accounting the cost, there's a profit. It depends a lot of times on what our situation in life is. And you know, whether we're well off, or whether we're in dire straits or something like that. People that are in dire straits may be more likely to consider it. You know, it would be definitely hello. Please be negative. Because I'm not running the CWF chosen thing on Saturday morning, Sharon. But anyway, yeah. But it said basically those that were in dire straits would probably, it would not be as costly to them because what do they have? But somebody that has a lot, it would be costly to them. Yeah.
I don't think it all has to do with how much you have or you don't have. I think it's how worldly you are versus how separated you are from the world.
Yeah, that was what I
Real
meant.
worldly out there having fun, partying every night, getting drunk and all of that stuff. You know, whether you want to give up that kind of lifestyle to follow God versus somebody who is not that worldly. I can see that there'll be a bigger change in the first versus the second.
Well, thank you, man. All right, let's move on to number 3. George MacDonald, C.S. Lewis's favorite author, says God is easy to please, but hard to satisfy. It means he is pleased with even our feeble, stumbling efforts, but not content to leave us there. This is what, even if we never wanted or asked for it, is God changing us into? And then what fatal mistake must we avoid? It's changing us into a saint. There's a lot of people that get really upset about that. I'm not a saint. I remember one of our church members one time, I was calling people saints. I'm not a saint. Well, yeah, you are. That's what he wants to do. Changing us into saints, even if we only want to become a decent, ordinary person. Shrinking back, not because of humility, but because of cowardice or laziness and not moving forward in his purposes and intentions. That's the fatal mistake we must avoid. Shrinking back. Here's a quote. He is the inventor, we are the machine. He is the painter, we are only the picture. So I thought that was pretty important for us to do there. So, but the fatal mistake is to just shrink back. And we say, well, I'm just me. You know, God says, no. I'm going to make you into a saint. All right. So the fourth question from this chapter is in paragraph 9, if you're counting paragraphs. Okay. And if you're not, well, somewhere on some page that you're reading. Why must we not be surprised if we are in for a rough time?
That's in the good and the bad.
Yeah. With progress
How about the
overcoming.
pleasant with the unpleasant.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Mhm.
Lots of times, the closer you get to God, the more the devil, so to speak, works on you.
Oh, yes.
Throws all these problems in your way.
Mhm.
And also. That happens too. And that's my opinion.
What you got, Jen? That's good.
Nothing, just referring back to the conversation we had previously.
Right. Yeah, you're right. That's true. With progress overcoming certain habits and so on, the good, we might think things should get easier. Right? But God's goal is not for our self-satisfaction, but for our continued transformation. Higher levels mean more difficult situations. And they really do. This is true. Our last question for chapter 9, we are not called to easy. We are called to it will be worth it. And in paragraph 10, probably the last paragraph, how does Lewis point this out using Christ's command to be ye perfect? We're back to that again. Listen to this quote. The command be ye perfect is not idealistic gas, nor is it a command to do the impossible. If we let him, for we can prevent him. If we choose, he will make the feeblest and filthy of us into a dazzling, radiant, immortal creature, pulsating all through with such energy and joy and wisdom and love as we cannot now imagine. The process will be long and in parts very painful, but that is what we are in for. Nothing less. He meant what he said. I like that. You take the, nothing else said, good with the bad. Yeah. You take both.
I like this little quote
Go ahead.
in the paragraph just before that one.
Yeah.
You thought you were going to be made into a decent little cottage, but he is building a palace. He intends to come and live in it himself.
Right. We're not being built into cottages. We're being built into palaces. Like that. That's good. That's good.
God doesn't make any junk.
Okay. God doesn't make any junk. That's true. That's very true. All right, let's move to chapter 10. All right. Nice people are nice men. This chapter is addressing the question, if Christianity is true, why are not all Christians obviously nicer than all non-Christians? Going to be a lot of short answer questions in this one. The first one, paragraph 2. If conversion to Christianity makes no improvement in actions, none, the conversion is what? It's largely imaginary.
Mhm,
That's what Lewis says.
mhm.
Well, I got saved back when I was, well, I don't know. There's no change in action. So that's first. Second, same paragraph. When we Christians behave badly or fail to behave well, what do we do to Christianity? Make it unbelievable
Mhm.
to the outside world. That's right. That's right. That's good. All right. Next paragraph. Detractors illogically demand post-conversion improvement by neatly doing what? What does he say?
Dividing into two camps.
Yeah, they demand before they will believe in Christianity that the whole world will be neatly divided into two camps, right?
Christian and non-Christian.
Right. And that all people at all times in the first camp, Christian, should be obviously nicer than all people in the second. I've used this example. When I worked at Six Flags, the people who came to the park on Pearl Day, which was a LGBTQ event that benefited the children's pediatric AIDS network that would come out and have a day at Six Flags. They were wonderful. They were fun. They were polite. They were just as nice as could be. You know who was it? The people who came for Atlanta Fest, the big Christian concert thing at Six Flags that would go a whole weekend, and we dreaded it because they acted like morons on the rides. They were terrible. I mean, the youth ministers just set them free, and they came out there and they were just rude. If you want to know the time of the week when the customers are the most rude to servers, Sunday,
Yeah.
lunch. It's not a myth. It's true. Okay. So that just breeds the falsity of that idea that all Christians are automatically just going to be nicer.
Hmm.
I'm sorry. It's true. I mean, we had a ball with those folks on Pearl Day, and we all were like this, when Atlanta Fest would come around. We're hoping Jesus would stop by just to kind of make them go like this, calm down, but it really was. So anyway. All right, so that's 3. See you, Hoyt. All right, Hoyt's leaving on that. Okay. I think it's about his boat. Okay, so number 4. The next paragraph, mass comparisons fail. What is needed to compare the bad Christian and the good atheist? What do you need?
To compare the bad Christian to the good atheist.
Yeah, what do you need?
You need to understand that even Christians, there's a battle going on between Christ and I guess, and no better word, the devil.
Right.
And there's this battle continuously going on that creates us to be the way they are. Where the atheist, he technically doesn't have Christ, so he ain't really got anything except the devil. So whatever he does is fine. As far as he's concerned, he doesn't have that battle going on inside.
Lewis said you must think about 2 real specimens whom you have actually met.
You actually have to have 2 specimens that you've actually met. Yeah, that's true. What Hinton said is true as well. But what you have to have are specimens. And that's why when I hear statements like, all these millennials suck. That's right, I said it. Millennials suck. They're lazy. They don't want to work, so forth and so on. Name some. I mean, I borrowed that from Hoyt.
Right.
But it's honestly, that's true. Name some. Just give me names of these people. Specimens. We need to actually see, give me a bad atheist and a good Christian. Okay. Or just a Christian, actually. A bad Christian and a good atheist. Give me a bad Christian and a good atheist in the room together. And that way we can look at how they compare. Okay. Not just make mass comparisons, because they fail on so many levels. They really do. I've told you before, the people think this church is dead. I don't think so. But I think come on in and let's look at the specimens inside. Let's see what you think after that. All right. I'm off my high horse. Number 5. Okay. Paragraph 5. True or false? Christian Miss Bates should stop telling non-Christian Dick Firkin. I like that. Dick Firkin to go to, all right. Conversely, Dick should seek to avoid ending up there. True or false? Is that true or false? Christian Miss Bates should stop telling non-Christian Dick Firkin to go to, but conversely, Dick should seek to avoid ending up there.
True.
That's true. It's true. That's right. That's good. That's good. Dick Firkin. I like it. Dick Firkin's niceness may cause him not to seek God, right? There's some nice atheists out there. There really are. But what is the source of his niceness?
Himself.
Lewis says God.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with that?
There you go. Lewis says God is the source of Dick Firkin's niceness. How about that? Said that the only reason he can be nice is because of God. Yeah.
Would it be more, well, in my opinion, it'd be more how he was raised. If he was raised and taught to be nice and polite and stuff like that, then, it would be, and his parents may have may have been Christian
Mhm.
and taught him that way, but at any rate, it's more how he was raised than for anything that God didn't allow. That's
But-
my opinion.
Yeah, but if we take this back to the very beginning of this book, though, it would mean that his parents were operating on the assumption, whether they were Christian or not, that there is an absolute moral right and an absolute moral wrong. And if we go back to the very beginning of this book, that is the starting point for belief in God, is that there is an absolute above moral good, the right and wrong that we talked about weeks and weeks and weeks ago.
Mhm.
So that even though maybe Dick Firkin or his parents weren't Christian, that the only way we can get to where he's nice is indeed that absolute that is above. I'm not saying Dick Firkin's a Christian, he's not. But that just the very fact that he can be nice is because of that belief in an absolute right and an absolute wrong.
Mhm.
And that, of course, comes from the absolute over that, which is God. So we're not attributing salvation to Dick. We're just simply saying that really the only reason anybody is nice, more than likely, is if they attribute it to that absolute moral right and moral wrong. So that actually building blocks of back in, I think, chapter 1 or chapter 2. Yep.
Do you think the law that God gave the Hebrews is I guess, the beginning of people looking at the absolute right and absolute wrong?
No.
You've got Moses and Noah and those that before that had that.
Yeah.
That feeling, so to speak. They
Yeah.
didn't really have any kind of set of rules as to what that meant.
No, that's right. There are the Hebrew Bible, relatively speaking, amongst other ancient Near Eastern literature, is of the newer type. There were other civilizations before that had their codes. Think of Hammurabi's code. Think of the Sumerians. There were other epics of creation that predate Genesis, the Gilgamesh epic, and others like it, that were many, many years preceding the bringing together of the Hebrew Bible, or the Torah at least. I think that goes back to God at creation instilling in us those right and wrong, that sense of right and wrong, which, yeah, certainly predates all of that. That would be what I would say to that, yeah. So, but I think the Hebrew Bible merely enforced it and brought it to bear and codified it in the Torah in a concrete way for the Hebrews just out of Egypt, and gave them that law to live by. Yeah, that's good. But I think that sense of right and wrong, and that sense of that comes from the Creator ultimately. Yeah, yeah, I think so. Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
think that I agree. When God created mankind, he built into us a sense of right and wrong. And I think we're all born with that sense. The unfortunate thing that happens is, the first time you do something wrong, you feel bad about it. The second time you do the same thing wrong, you feel less bad about it. The third time, even less bad, and then finally you get where you don't feel bad at all about it. And I think we as Christians, what we fail to recognize sometimes is those either fellow Christians or non-Christians who are not living the Christian life. We tend to think that they're enjoying that, because in many cases they pretend that they are.
Right, sure,
When in fact, in most cases, they're not. When those people end up sitting down and talking with somebody, the truth comes out. That they're not happy with that vicious life and all.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Hinton, please go ahead.
Some of the most unhappy people that you'll ever see are some of them that's the richest in the world.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
mean, if you see a picture of them, it's just like, hey, I'm here.
And one of the reasons
Yeah,
for that
right.
is that they feel like that everybody that likes them is liking them for their money.
I think it's because they're poor.
Well, I don't know about, I think some of them work so hard. I don't think Jeff Bezos is bored, but I do think that he's very concerned that people don't like him for who he is. They like him for what he has.
Let's ask a couple of rich people who are on Zoom about it. John and Sharon, how's that working out in your life there at COVID Lane? How's it? No, notice there's no comment coming. All right, there we go. All right.
You have Hoyt in the room.
I have Hoyt in the room? Oh, no, he's let me in. I know the real deal now. I know where the money is in North Lawrenceville. All right, here we go.
When you were asking the question
Yeah.
about right and wrong,
Sure.
basically, one theory that I was thinking about is the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Sure.
And I think that may be the basis of all feelings of right and wrong. Because if somebody wrongs you, you don't feel good about it. And if you try to do that, so you do less wrong if you keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Good point. All right. All right. Number 7. I think we just kind of touched on this. It's another true or false question. If you're following along in your book, it's paragraphs 11 through 15 on some page. Okay. It may be easier for those who are poor, quote unquote, in niceness, and mean and nasty, than those who are rich in niceness to enter the kingdom. It's true.
What I tried to say earlier. But I said, that's what I tried to say earlier, but it didn't come out right.
No, it's okay. One can depend on his niceness and fail to see his need for redemption. I mean, Jesus comes out and says, why is your master eating with sinners and tax collectors? Oh, whoa, you don't need what I've got. They do. The sick need a doctor. You guys are fine. Fine. You don't need me. They need me. Or at least you make me feel like you don't need me. But I'm going to be in here with them because they need a doctor and they realize it. So yeah, that's true. It may be easier for those who are poor in niceness, mean and nasty. Whoever's mean and nasty in our lives. Yeah, that's important. Number 8, redemption is not mere improvement. It is not teaching, Jan, this is your area. It is not teaching a horse to jump better, but what? Redemption is not mere improvement, C.S. Lewis says. It's not teaching a horse to jump better, but what? Turning a horse into
Yeah.
what?
Turning a horse into a friend.
Winged creature.
A what? Obedient. creature.
Redemption is turning a horse into a
I
winged
like my
creature,
definition better. I said a friend.
a friend. Well, you didn't write the book.
I
A
noticed
winged
this.
creature. That's what redemption is. Redemption is not, just an improvement here. It's turning you into something completely different. Okay. And then the last question for chapter 10. Once one begins to see that Christianity is probable, and I want us to remember it. He was an atheist, okay?
Yep.
Lewis was an atheist. All right. This is not, I've been a Christian since the crib and all of that. But once one begins to see that Christianity is probable, and then sets up some stupid and unsatisfactory Christian as an example of the boasted new man, what is that person doing? It's the last paragraph, I believe. He says you're evading the issue. He says you're evading the issue. That's what he says. Once you see that it's probable, but then you go, well, I mean, look at this guy. And we can put name after name after name after name, unfortunately, for stupid and unsatisfactory Christians, as Lewis says. And that can evade the issue. So you don't have to deal with it. Well, I don't want to become like that person. If that's what Christianity is, forget it. Yeah, that's good. That's what he said. Okay. Last chapter. All right, here we are. It's the moment that Rose has been waiting for. All right, here we go. The new men or the new women. I'm sorry, ladies. You know, it's the 40s. It's England. It's he's male. Sorry. In this final chapter, Lewis discusses two ways in which new people, I'm going to say that, might come into existence. The first way is the modern man's way of Darwinian evolution through mutations via cosmic rays being filtered by natural selection, and the eventual production of the next step, or what imaginative writers call the Superman. All right, we will not bother with that way. All right, we're going to hold that one off to the side. The second way is the Christian view. It sees that the next step of new people has already arrived. It has appeared. But this change is not evolution because it has not risen from a natural process, but from something coming into nature from outside. Now, Lewis lists 5 other characteristics of the Christian view. All right, and here they are. I'm just going to give them to you. 1, it is not carried out by sexual reproduction, hence the virgin birth. Okay. 2, unlike most natural processes that just happen to living organisms with little or no choice on their part, it is voluntary insofar as we can refuse what God has offered to us. We can say no. All right. The third one, the new spiritual life. This is for you, Crystal, Zoe. The new spiritual life is not transmitted by heredity, but by the good infection from Christ, who is the first instance of the new man. All right. And the fourth, the speed of this next step, rather than a slow, gradual change, has been like a flash of lightning, and we are still only at the infant stage. 2,000 years for sure, but we are still only at the infant stage. And then the last one is the last characteristic, maturing, has multiple points, and we're going to look at that in more detail. All right. So that's what we want to talk about. We want to end this book talking about maturity. All right. So let's start in paragraph 9. Paragraph 9. We just gave you kind of an overview of the beginning of the chapter. And so now let's start with this right here, this question. There are only 4. Okay. Until we rise and follow Christ, what does Lewis say we are?
Still parts of nature, still in the womb of our great mother.
He says we are still part of nature, still in the womb. What the writer of the study guide, he says, what I call myself is really just, I love this, really just due to eggs, alcohol, Iron Shield, a good night's sleep, propaganda. In my natural state, I am not nearly so much of a person as I believe. Okay, so that's the first thing. All right. Second, the risen new person. They're now dotted all over the earth, right? And some are already recognizable. What are they like? The next paragraph. What are they like? What does Lewis say? He gives us a description.
They do not draw attention to themselves.
Yeah, they don't.
They love you more than other men do, but they need you less.
Yeah,
They're
their voices and faces are different. They're stronger, quieter, and more radiant.
happier, he says.
They're not very much like the ordinary idea of religious people you form from general reading. As Hoyt said, they love you more but need you less. Once one is recognized, the next is more easily recognized. They recognize each other. Becoming holy is like joining a secret society and must be great fun. So that's it. Compare the celebrity Christians that we know. I'm always proud of the fact that, and Fred would probably slap me upside my bald head. for saying this, but I've always been proud of the fact that the man was a celebrity in the disciples' world. But
Oh, yeah.
you'd have never known it. He never pastored a church with more than 150, 200 people in it. And that was just fine for him, retiring up to the North Georgia mountains, and that was fine. I mean, he had some big speaking engagements in his life. Back in the 70s, he did speak at a rally for then President Jimmy Carter. One of his funniest stories came from that, but it just wasn't all about celebrity and fame. And so I think when you look at some of our celebrity Christians, we just have to be careful. A lot of our falls, they come all over the church, but we notice the big ones, right? Because they're on television and we see them a lot. And that kind of power has to do something to people.
I like
really
one
does.
sentence here
Go
because
ahead,
it
Lloyd,
makes
please.
me feel bad.
Uh-oh, I'm getting ready to feel bad.
They will usually seem to have a lot of time.
Mhm.
You will wonder where it comes from.
Yeah.
If you notice people who are always, I don't know if you've ever been to gatherings where politicians are.
Yeah.
But there's always somebody whose job it is to remind the politician that it's time to leave.
Time to leave.
You gotta go. And they usually remind them right when the most difficult question has been asked of them.
Isn't that something? Oh, look at the time.
But when people are, who are, I used to think when I crammed so much into my life and I had very little time, that I was really doing the right thing because I was getting so much done in
Right.
so many areas. It turns out that I didn't really learn the difference until I retired. And then it dawned on me how much time I had wasted doing some of the things that other people could have accomplished better than I did.
That's true. That's so true. So true.
The other thing
Yeah,
there that
go
was
ahead.
interesting, when we're talking about the needing thing.
Yeah.
He says, we must get over wanting to be needed.
Uh-huh.
In some goodish people, especially women, that is the hardest of all temptations there is. I mean, poor old CS. I mean, if there was ever a
Sorry, ladies.
Excuse me, I'm not
anti-feminist,
buying
it
that.
was CS Lewis.
If there's one thing a man needs is to be respected and honored. If that doesn't mean he needs to be needed, I don't know what it means.
All
So
right,
there, meh.
lay off Jack. All right, there you go. Yeah, it's a unfortunate product of upbringing and societal acceptability. And yeah, it's unfortunate that that was the example he chose to use there. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So third question, paragraphs 11 and 12. How is losing ourselves to become new people like being exposed to light and or salt? This should be easy, right? We move out of ourselves and into Christ. Quote here is, his will is to become ours, and we are to think his thoughts. The Bible puts it this way, to have the mind of Christ. However, this oneness with Christ doesn't erase, but rather enunciates what it is that gives us our distinctions. Light makes everything distinguishable and more distinct. It brings out the real you. Lewis once wrote elsewhere that when the sun rises, not only do we see it, but we see everything else by it. All right. Salt has its own taste, but when added to food, it brings out their distinct flavors. So light and salt bring out the real distinctions of the new person. So when Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth, you're the light of the earth, you're the light of the world, you know what he's saying, right? All right, then the final question. Lewis claims there are no real personalities other than in God, and until we give ourselves up to him, we will not have a real self. Will getting a real self just make us all the same? No. And we'll end with this quote. Sameness is found most among the most natural men, not among those who surrender to Christ. How monotonously alike all the great tyrants and conquerors have been. How gloriously different are the saints. And that's true. So different. So very different. But we're one in Christ. We have the mind of Christ, but we're different. So that's important. Okay. Anything else? Go ahead. Ward.
Up here, when he's talking about salt and light,
Yeah.
and he's talking about the house, we all know that too much salt ruins the meal,
Right.
but the right amount enhances everything.
Certainly.
So he says, so far from killing the taste of the egg and the tripe and the cabbage, it actually brings it out. Am I the only one in here that knows what tripe is?
I have no idea what tripe is.
I don't either. I
No, yes.
heard
Stomach lining,
Huh?
stomach lining.
Right, it's the stomach of a hog and it's
Or
cut.
cow.
Well, yeah, in the South, it was always hog because we couldn't afford to kill cow, you know. It was like, we almost never ate beef at home. We always ate pork.
Mm.
Pork was cheap. But you take the stomach, and the reason it's called tripe is it's cut into triangles. My daddy loved it fried.
Mhm.
Some people would boil it. I didn't like it anyway. But that's tripe, but it's strange that he used it
Mhm.
because to me, the worst cuisine in the world
Mhm.
is British cuisine.
It's not
It
good.
Yeah, but
really
he couldn't
is.
help it. He was stuck with it.
If you go over there and you eat their, the most popular,
Pudding.
the most popular
Yorkshire
dish in
pudding?
the United Kingdom is a Thai dish. It's not even one of their own, but what they call it, the kidney, something or another, and then blood sausage and all that kind of stuff. It's just all gross.
Mhm.
But it was just a common thing then, and it's still common in England or United Kingdom and in Germany.
Mhm.
to eat tripe.
Right. Well, on that note, let's go to lunch and not have tripe.
Have a good lunch.
Yeah, we will. Okay, listen, thank you all for participating in this.
Oh,
We're
it's been
gonna,
great.
we're gonna
Thank
take a
you.
break and get back to it in 22. Okay, we'll take a break for the rest of the year and focus on some other things. And I'll be looking at books and throw one out to y'all and see what you think. Okay. Well, you guys at home have a great day. And those of you in the room, thank you so much for being here. And go with God, y'all. See ya.
No, thank you. I've really enjoyed